There we go. Welcome everybody. Batch number 45. Oh my gosh, how time flies. Welcome everyone. Marcelo here from Horizon Games, your community manager for Skyweaver. And another Wednesday, every 2 weeks, we have our patch, which usually encompasses some technical features and gameplay features, and John and Coulter's balance patch. So it's a lot of interesting stuff. Let's jump right in here. We have some new mechanics, some things that were requested for a very long time. So let's take a look. What's going on here? And thanks everybody that's joining me here on Twitch in our official channel. We have John, which is our game designer. We have Skyweaver, our Wartlock aficionado, Luca, our moderator for Spanish, and Werfs, our general mod, and other friends here. Thanks a lot for showing. So this is a big change. That's something that was requested for a very long time. Now you can earn experience points in bot matches also, okay? Not only on private and of course the regular constructed and discovery competitive. So if you wanna have a more laid-back experience without any competitive stress, you can do that up to level 15. You'll learn how to play the game, and that's really cool. Right, we have some other things here, which is pretty big, right? Songs added to the game. When you jump now in a match, you will start listening to a couple of new tracks, right? 5 tracks in total. So they have been commissioned specially for the game. They are pretty nice sounding. Let us know what you think. We love, of course, our main battle theme, composed by Ross of Fable fame. But yeah, a little variety is good. So there we go. This is something that we are adding tomorrow. And then, of course, fasting loading times. This is something that has kicked in last week. Believe on Friday. It wasn't super apparent if you're not a heavy player, but if your account is a bit older and you have a lot of cards and etc., sometimes the match would take a while to load and stuff like that, right? So that was fixed. Things are much faster, and now also to make it even better, when you load the game, it's gonna be a faster experience, right? You don't have the waiting for opponent scenario indicator. Now we're gonna jump into the match. You will see here there's a new slider that will on top that will fill up as you load yourself, which is much better than to have just the ugly and placeholder waiting for opponent that we've had in the past, right? So that's a good thing. All right, so finally, if some changes here for people that abandon matches before turn 6. What will happen? We'll have some timeout penalty, right? The first time, of course, it can be a mistake, can be a technical issue, so there's no penalty the first time it happens, all right? In a 24-hour window, that's important. So, but if you keep on dropping matches before turn 6, there will be a greater and greater timeout here in seconds. So please be nice, all right? That's all we want. We want people playing the game and having fun, and not trying to manipulate the queue, especially in the closed beta, right? When we have less players, so that's not good for anybody. So there's that. It's one of the measures that we have in mind to try to make bad players' lives a bit more complicated, all right? The Johnny accounts, yeah, exactly. So if somebody's AFK also for more than 3 turns, that person will lose the game, right? It's a bit of a controversial measure, right? There's no right way to handle that, but it's better than nothing, and it's better than simply letting the game come to an end, especially in the beginning, right? When it can take some time for the other player to mount an offense that can kill the AFK player. So 3 turns, that's it. Again, let us know what you think. So let's see what John has to say here about cards, right? So rewarding cheapest and most expensive to low cost and high cost. So this is a glossary change to keep the game a bit more streamlined and consistent, and using the mechanic on more spells. So this is something that you can expect to see more on spells in the future. So expanding some removal out of heart, that is interesting. Using glory to dust some dead cards, which is something that we don't have a lot of right now in the game, right? Especially when you're trying to affect the enemy's graveyard. Now, I believe that we have some more options in this regard. There's a big change that was discussed. So animosity is now anima, all right? If you know your Latin, it will be very familiar to you. And let's see. So, what's news here? Cards that are either new or they are returning to the game after benching. So Luca is asking why animosity instead of anima. Right. First of all, I think that it's shorter. All right. So in a game, real estate is super important. So we try to keep the nomenclature a bit on the smaller and shorter side because it's easier on us, on our designers, and etc. But that was a term that we weren't that we were a bit unhappy for a while. So John and the rest of the team, they were checking some possibilities here, and that's where we landed on anima, which is very nice. But again, I'm a Latin speaker, so I might be biased, as you are, Luca. So there we go. Let us know what you think. Glorious Main then returning to the game with enchant of a target, a spell that gives the target's unit +2/+2 and guard, and units in your hand of the same element +1/+1. So if you use this on a light card, the light card will get those benefits here, and all the light cards in your hand will also get a +1/+1. Luna is an old favorite. She's making a comeback on intellect, stealth keyword, and when you summon, you conjure an enemy spell onto this unit and you give it a -1 cost. So it's a bit unpredictable, right? Because it cannot control very well the enemy spells, but it has possibilities. And I really like the illustration. Foul Stench, good old Foul Stench is making a comeback. 2 damage to all non-wither units, and you draw a wither card, and remember it's wither damage. 4 cost, nothing changes here. It's a token, it's not part of any specific deck. Okay. Swamp Walker, okay. So that's why Foul Stench is making a comeback, because look who's here. It's our good old Swamp Walker. Also making a comeback with the heart card, costing 4. 3 power, 4 life, wither with Foul Stench, and when an ally dies, you blink a random enemy for 1 wither damage, which is pretty important. So never forget that. And it's a random enemy, so it can be the enemy hero. Alright, then we have Carrion Crow, which is a heart card also, 2/2. And when you play, you dust target hero stop that unit to draw or to draw a low-cost dark spell onto this unit. Okay, so it's what John has discussed in the patch notes above, right? You dust the top dead unit of the enemies, and then you draw a low-cost dark spell onto Carrion Crow. So pretty nice way to use the enemy's graveyard in your advantage, and 2 cost can be done pretty early in the game. Zato, another change in nomenclature here. 2/2. As a glory, reveal the enemy's hand. Alright, it's a nice effect to have for a guy that's blindfolded, and it comes with chains, right? So chain toss. Mushka. Okay, Mushka was reworked, as I see. Now on Glory, Mushka dusts your dead bottom earth card to get Anima. So you can start consuming your earth cards to get more and more anima and then buff Mushka more and more. So that's pretty interesting. And yeah, better than the wither immunity that I hated so much. As a hard player, of course. So we have 5 Hulk Shark, also making a comeback. It gets +1 power when the enemy hero is damaged, and it also withers, so can be a pretty potent source of withering damage later on. Mad Ronin is also making a comeback. It comes with Fate, and as you summon him, it gives the enemy hero Soul Taunt spell. Alright, so it's you can smartly overwrite a spell on the enemy hero with Soul Taunt, if you so desire. And Tychus is also making a comeback. When you have a glory effect, you draw an enemy card. Okay, so most of those cards were just returned from the bench. They were present in the game before, some slightly reworked to fill other niches. Okay, so we have 9 additions. That means we have 9 cards removed. So right now we have Power Surge, Shadow Assassin, Carbonite, Dryad, Spiderella, Gravekin, Reaper, Teenage Witch, and Castus. Those are benched for the moment. Poor Castus, he was a good dragon. And so let's see what else changes here. That's the meat of the balance patch. So first change is in... Hey Philip, welcome. Windweave. People already in the chat saying, oh no, but I used most of those cards that were removed. But fear not, they are removed for now, alright? They will come back later on as we expand the prisms, or maybe in a new prism. Who knows what's in store for Skyweaver in the next few months. Windweave. So with Windweave, it's a Wisdom spell costing 3. Now changing text. Before you would mulligan your hand and then you draw 2 spells. Now you mulligan your spells in hand and then you draw 2 spells. Okay, so you don't mulligan your whole hand, it's more of a spell filter. So less random, less mulligan, more consistency. This is nice and should especially help in discovery. Definitely I agree with that. So yeah, we have this pesky... I hate this Firefox symbol that doesn't disappear. Okay, I gotta fix that after the stream. So Gift of Aya, one of our stronger plus mana accelerators in the mid game. Now let's see what happens. Same cost, still in Wisdom. Before you would gain 1 max mana, draw an earth spell, and then give your hero +1 health for each card in your hand. Now, same mana gain, right? You still gain 1 maximum mana, but now you draw a high cost earth spell. So starting from the costliest earth spell downwards. And then you give your hero +1 health for each card in your hand. So basically that's the change here. You draw a more targeted spell now. It's better tutoring, so it's easy to cast and to draw something like Ant Whale and stuff like that, right? Without having to avoid putting cheaper earth cards in your deck to mess up with the tutoring. Now it's much more consistent, so that should help you. And speaking of Ant Whale, here we go. Before you would draw 2 units into play and then give each roots. Now you draw 2 units into play, give each roots unless it's earth. That's a sexy change. Alright, so now Ant Whale has an added effect for earth elemental cards. Well, that's pretty good. Treasure Chest, now cheaper, costing 3. Before it would give your hero 2 health and then you draw a spell and a unit. Now no more healing, just the draw. So now you draw a spell and a unit. Right, so it's simpler, less effect, it still has banner, so it's a decent cost for basically 3 benefits, right? 2 cards and the banner round for your hero. Good old Musashi now costs 1 less, costing 3. Huge decrease in power at 2, but now instead of Whelm it comes with Barrier. Okay, so redesign should be less whelming. Yeah, Whelm was very prevalent in some scenarios, so now we are curtailing excessive use of Whelms. Alright, so still a great glory effect, but with less power now and a bit more defensive with Barrier. Funereal Moon before would kill units with 2 power or less, and then you would draw a dark spell onto your hero. Now it kills units with 2 power or less, same thing, and you draw a low cost dark spell onto your hero. Again, better tutoring of dark spells. Instead of being just any random dark spell, now you know that it's a low cost dark spell. We won't remove Wartlock. Sorry, I can't promise that. That's on John. That might happen, but not permanently, I think. Who knows? Extinction Event now costs 1 less, costing 5. No other changes, just to make it a bit easier in your mana pockets. So there we go. And Dr. Vile now comes with Vile, which is a triple Vile now. Dr. Vile with Vile. Try to say all the vials in this card fast, alright? Especially if you're a non-native English speaker. It's not the simplest task. So usability buff. The Doctor was not in the greatest spot. Now I think that with the free Vile, it's a bit more usable, and especially now when you can choose to pay the cost of the vials with other cards, including himself, right? So that is something that you might want to do. That's interesting. Deep Freeze change also in text. It's still a wisdom spell costing 4. Before it would give target unit frozen and then 1 damage to enemies. Now gives target unit frozen, same thing. Do 1 damage to enemies, same thing. Dust enchanted units kill. Okay, that's pretty interesting. So it's another way to dust very specifically and very clutch. Of course it's 1 damage, right? So it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you can quite easily dust the frozen unit, for instance, the main target of the Deep Freeze, causing 3 damage, right? Which is a bigger amount of damage. That's pretty interesting. I like that. The nice way to deal with cheap fated units. So especially 1 cost, they usually have 1 or 2 health. So yeah, that's nice. Think Twice. Also changing utility. Before it would draw you a mind spell and then give your hero a copy of that spell. Now you draw a low cost mind spell, give the target ally a copy. So yeah, not only you get a more targeted spell, mind spell in this case, but also it doesn't go to your hero, so it goes to a target ally, so not necessarily your hero. If you want to preserve whatever is on top of your hero, you can. So that's a lot of good value for Think Twice. I like it. Very good for constructed use. Dual boot now costs 4 instead of 5. Before you would draw a unit and then you summon a 2/2 guard copy. Now draw a unit, summon a 2/2 guard copy the same way, but you give it dazed, right? So it's a bit of a nerf to compensate for the cost and to compensate basically for the free guard. All right. Electron. Before on Inspire Metal it would get Zap. Now on Metal it gets zapped with Wither. Oh, so Electron got Zappier zaps. It gets the OG zap that comes with a Wither. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Zap classic buff. I like it. Wicked little card, especially in the beginning, right? Lots of value there with the Wither. So Bloom Garden now is called Savage Garden. and before it would summon 2 Elder Woods with Animosity. Now it summoned 2 Elder Woods with Anima and +1 power. So a nice buff to those plants, right? +1 power on top of the Animosity is nothing to scoff at, especially not at 3 cost. It's a very powerful, potent earth spell. Reinforce, one of our classic cards. Before it would summon 2 armored guards and then give allies +1 health. Now you summon 2 armored guards and give ally units 1 health. Okay, so your hero is not getting that +1 health anymore. The rest of the units will, however. That's nice. Good old Hail Hydra now costs 4. I think here we have still the old cost, but now it costs 4, and it comes with the Hail of Arrows, right? Because, come on, Hail Hydra, why not? Yeah, I like it. The alliterations and the puns. Waking Dream. Before you would draw a spell onto target sleeping unit of its element and then you ready that unit. Now you draw a low cost spell onto target sleeping unit of its element and then ready it. Same thing, but with better tutoring, not just any random spell. Nice. Hey Bloodheal, welcome. Good to see you, Ron. My best to brew. We're mid patch. Ah, there she is. Hey, bro, and welcome to this week's patch notes. Moonbeam. Okay, so now Moonbeam costs 3, and instead of 4, that's it. Before it would give target unit -4 health, and your hero +4 health, and now it's a -3 health and +3 health situation here. So a bit cheaper, a bit less powerful, to make it a bit more different with the other dark spells. That's John rationale here. New music, absolutely. Yes, we have new songs. Tomorrow, right? Of course. Here we have the Wartlock, alright? So Wartlock had a buff. Rejoice, Skyweaver. Alright, now he is a 4 cost 3/3 instead of being a 4 cost 2/3. So there we have it. We deliver. Skyweaver delivers happiness to us all. Toil and Trouble. Before it would give ally units +1 power and then do 1 damage to all enemy units. Now it does 1 damage to enemy units. Then if lethal, it would give allies +1 power. Okay, so it's a change in consistency here, right? You get the power if there is a lethal scenario going on here. Alright. Here? In which one, John? It should say ally units, not the hero. You mean here, right? Okay. Alright. Though there you have it. So it's not not your hero, because come on, right? If your hero would get 1 power from that, ouchie. Okay, so that we have to correct this one. Good catch. So Glitter moving to Intellect from Heart. Boo. Before on Glory it would give Dazed to the enemy hero. Now on Glory it does the enemy stop that spell to give their hero Dazed. So Glitter is even nastier now, because it will chomp your enemy's spells to provide the Dazed effect, right? Not great if there's no spell to consume, but later on it might be a big deal, right? To break spell consistency and the graveyard manipulation, right? So there we go. Mother Ethera is getting a buff to her health. Yeah, John has a very OG reference here, right? The terror of Skyweaver Alpha. Yeah, Mother Ethereal was considered the brokenest unit during our alpha, right? The cries of nerf were heard throughout the land. And there we go. Now, with more cards and a changed meta, she's much less of a threat, still very potent, alright? The effect of generating Elder Woods is nothing to be trifled with, but she's not what she once was. So you get an extra health point, Mother Ethereal. Good job. So Gemini is also receiving a buff to power and health. So now it's an 8/6/6, very chunky guard, right? So there we go. John was missing some Gemini action, so let's see. You can say to Zygon, a Skywielder, he's our main game designer. He's responsible for buffing your Wartlock. He's here in the chat with us. So there he is. Identity crisis. Then let's see. Changing text. So before it would give target unit -2 power and then swap power with health. Now it gives a target unit -2 power as before, swap power and health as before, and then you daze it. Alright, that's interesting. It's a very nice way to handle lots of units now because of the dazed. Yeah. So then we have Gato, good old Gato. Now with 1 extra power, it's a powerful kitty. The win rate of Gato has been low, surprisingly, especially when compared to Songbird. Okay, so are you ready for a 1-cost 2/1 with Stealth and Banner and a spell? Let's find out. Alright, lots of value in this little kitty here. That's good stuff. Lily is receiving also a little buff, so now she has 1 extra power, alright? Because come on, Hoplite is not what it once was with 3/3. So there we go. Gisa, before on death would draw your most expensive unit, and now it draws a high cost unit. Again, changing nomenclature only, and to boot, Gisa comes with Zap, an electric kitty after all. There we go. Turn the tide. Interesting. Let's see what changes. Before, both players would return their hand to the decks and then draw 5. Now both player returns to their hand to the deck and draw 5, and then you give your hero Vapors. So there's an added incentive to turn the tide right now, right? Because turn the tide in the past was very much tied to the amount of cards, right? If you had less cards than your enemy, it's a great card. If not, it's not the best proposition. Now at least you get something out of it with the buff. High cost is the most expensive now, and then there we go. Yeah, yes, it's a change in nomenclature only. The behavior is basically the same. Yes. Bloodheel asking here in the chat. Whipvine. Now no power for the Whipvine, but it still comes with Wither. Why? Because it has received Anima, which is also another change in nomenclature for you people that came midstream. Animosity is now called Anima. Alright, so there we go. Lots of potential here, especially for chip unit. I like this change very much. So Chain Lasso is back to Chain Toss. That was the original name, I believe, and I never called it Chain Lasso ever. I always called it Chain Toss, including previously in this stream, I believe. So there we go. Now a big reduction in cost, costing 1, and now it's much more simplified, because then it would give front and back enemies chains, and then you do 1 damage each. Now very simple, it just choose a target, chains it, that's it. and it's a token, so it's not part of the agility deck anymore. All right, only on Zato. All right, it's simplified and cheap to use, and it solves your problem. Okay, Andromeda is moving down the curve, I see. Yeah, with 1 reduction in cost to 4, and now it's a 4-2 instead of a 5-3. And instead of the chain toss, that's now only on Zato as above, it comes with the snap trap. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think it's still quite valuable, especially since it's an armored unit. Okay, and it's nice that it comes with a damage source, so you can immediately use its text. So that's pretty nice. A light. Before you would draw a light spell onto your hero and then reveal spells in the enemy hand. Now you draw a low cost light spell onto your hero and reveal spells in the enemy hand. Again, that's the change that we have seen the most in this patch. Just for greater consistency, now you can tutor your cards much better. Yeah. Earth Golem. Let's see what changes here. Before, on death, it would give your hero plus 10 health. And now on death, you dust your bottom that Earth card to give your hero plus 10 health. So now there is a sacrifice to activate Earth Golem's card. Alright, so that would be great if you're unconstructed and you have a more Earth-driven deck. It might be trickier in Discovery and in some other situations here. So, but again, it was always a humongous heal, so it makes sense that it's a bit conditional. All right. Lots of funny comments here in the chat. Old Foggy, good old Foggy of the Mushroom Clan. Before on death, you would gain 1 maximum mana. Now, same thing. You dust your bottom that Earth card to get this maximum mana. There is a cost to receive this boon. So there we go. Powerful effect with a increased conditional cost. Heirlooms, now it's heirloom in singular. Reduce the reduced cost to 1. Before, you would draw a spell onto each ally unit of its element, and now you draw a low cost spell onto target ally unit of its element. Okay, so again, much more precise and specific in its use. Back to being a card, right, and not just a token. So now it goes back to the Hearth deck. Yeah, interesting. I agree with John's comment here. More of a tutor, less of a mass cleanse. Yeah, that's definitely. Nefertiti receiving changes, now less powerful and healthier. Instead of being a 2-2, it's a 1-3 to make it more consistent with her role, right? She's not a brawler. She is there for the effect and for the cleanse, alright? Yeah, there we go. Timber is now a bit weaker with 1 power, but it comes also with Anima. So, nice change here and possible shenanigans. Bill. Okay. Now it will be harder to kill Bill. Right? Yeah. You can now cringe right now. Now it's a 4-3-4 instead of being a 4-3-3. So Bill's a bit more resilient right now. Okay, so card sling. Let's see what changes here. You discard your right card in hand to do damage equal to its cost to target unit, and then you draw 2. That's the old effect. Now you discard your left card in hand to do damage equal to its cost and target unit, and then draw 2. It's very nice that it's now choosing left cards instead of right cards, because sometimes you have on the left cards that you're not super keen on using, and there are other ways of filtering it. On the right, it always makes it a bit more of a gamble. So that's pretty nice. I like this change very much. So Ghost Duster. Before, you would dust to the top that the enemy unit should draw a spell of its element onto this unit. And now, on summon, dust to the top that enemy unit should draw a low-cost spell of its element onto this unit. Okay, so it's not just any spell, now it's a low-cost spell of the specific element that you've dusted in the enemy's graveyard. So, more consistency changes here, easier tutoring. Sanctuary. Now, before you would return a target spell to hand to give it shield and health equal to the spell's cost, and now you return target ally's spell to your hand if it has 1, and then you give it shield plus 3 health. Okay, that's interesting. Again, consistency. There's a very good opportunity for utility here, and let's combo with heal. Yeah, that's exactly the idea here. Very good. Oh yeah, Pudo. I was confusing Mushka with Pudo about the withering damage, so my bad. I always mix those two in my head. So Pudo now is weaker with 3/3 instead of 4/4, but it comes with Anima also. So there's the potential for a bigger Pudo later on, and I hate that. Strength. Players will probably like it. Mighty Steed, now with a bit of an extra tick of power, so now it's a 3/4 instead of being a 2/4. So, and because the treasure is a bit cheaper, so it's a more usable card right now. So super potent, but very usable. Stir the Kraken. Now it's a token, it's not part of Wisdom anymore. Before, it would draw a water unit and then do damage to target unit equal to your mana. Now it draws a high cost water unit and then does damage to target unit equal to your mana. Again, consistency change here. So great way to pick up that Krakos or some of the other heavy hitters in the water element. Nice. Apollo now comes with extra stealth, so it's an extra stealthy Apollo on top of the lifesteal. Good stuff. Force Field now comes with an extra banner. Alright, so it's a very decent spell plus 1 round of banner for your hero. Not bad. That's a big one. Right Knight. Before, on Glory, it would get Rite of Passage, and now on Glory, it dusts the enemy stop that spell to get Rite of Passage. Okay, so more graveyard manipulation here to get the effect. That's pretty cool. So Axolotl now comes with base 2 health. Okay, so it's a bit stronger on a baseline if you don't have anything extra to buff it. Alright, so it was not very successful in the past few weeks, so it's receiving a bit of a bump. Jar of Souls, one of our most controversial spells here. Before, it would summon your top 3 dead units as 1/1 units with a lifesteal, wither, and hex. Ready them. Now you summon your top 3 dead units as +1/+1 with wither and hex, and ready them. Okay, so no more lifesteal galore with Jar of Souls, which is probably a good thing, right? So yeah, the withering is on itself should be enough of an incentive here. So you have to rethink your lifesteal strategies if they depended on Jar of Souls. Bookcasey, very straightforward buff of +1 health. Alright, so it's a nice mid-game brawler that's a bit more durable right now. Burb is getting a text effect Sunrise gets 1 health. So we have a solar powered burb here. So there we go. It's a small burb buff. I like that. Cinder. So before on sunset, Cinder would get the fireball. Now on sunrise, it gets fireball if you have a fire card in your hand. It's a bit more conditional now, and it comes with barrier. So there is more incentive now to put Cinder in an elemental deck instead of just throwing it for free fireballs. So there you have it. Anti-Mago, Anti-Mago, depending on your language. Before, it would have the glory of giving the enemy hero flames. Right? It's one of the most entertaining glory effects of all time, in my opinion. I love the idea of setting the enemy hero on fire. Now you dust the enemy's top that spell to give their hero flames. So on top of that, you also have the potential of dusting enemy spells, alright? But again, remember, if they don't have that spell, you don't get a flame. So keep that in mind. With that, we have a switcheroo in the power and health. Now it's a 3-2 instead of being a 2-3, which I like more. Anti-Mago looks more of a smacker than a guardian. So there we have it. Frankie, good old Frank. What changes here? Now it has moved back to strength, where I believe it was on heart. Frank has been around several different prisms, and now it's on strength, right? So let's see. Before on sunrise, you would dust your top 2 that units, and then Frank would get +5 health. And now you dust your top dead non-dark unit to get +5 health. So instead of dusting 2, you dust just 1, but it has to be a non-dark unit, and you get the same benefit of +5 health. I would think it's a sizable buff, alright? So there you have it, which is also quite in line with strength steam, so good stuff. Puppet Master now cheaper at 4, lost also 1 point of health with 2. Before, on summon, it would draw a unit into play as a 1/1 guard armor unit. Okay, now on summon, it draws a low cost unit into play as a 2/2 lead guard unit. That's interesting. That's a big change. And I think that it's, dare I say, it's a buff. Alright, it might be, right? Especially now that you're ensuring only using low cost units. So yeah, I think it's pretty decent, right? But of course, remember, it comes with lead. So if you're trying to tutor something low cost, you're not doing that for its attachment, right? You're doing that for the text or for the numerical values. So there we go. Interesting. I like this change. Earth Spike. Before, it would give a target roots, and then you would dust your top dead earth card to do 3 damage to that target. And now, same thing, we give the target roots, and then you dust your bottom dead card, that earth card, to do 3 damage to 8. So instead of dusting the top dead earth card, you dust the bottom dead earth card. So there we go. It makes a bit more sense, I think, also. Good stuff. Scorpio, bam, 6 power, buff, that's it. No shenanigans, Scorpio hits you and it hurts. Yeah, it's one of the best summon effects, I think, in my opinion, so there we go. Alright, good old Libra. Before, it on summon would give your hero +7 health, straightforward, and now it gives your hero +7 health if your grave has 7 or more cards. So we are digging deep here into the numerology of the number 7, right? So you gotta have 7 or more cards in your graveyard if you want the 7 health, right? So all of you OCD people out there, rejoice. And nice, I think it's also because it's a later game. Yeah, it's not super restrictive, but it is a restriction. So there we go. Mad Hat. So a little buffy buff to our good old Mad Hat, and it's a 2/3/2 instead of being a 2/2/2. 1 extra power to the hat. Considering it's a withering unit, it's a pretty decent buff. The Ominous Who now costs 3, 1 less. Also with the math reduction in stats here, 3/3 instead of 4/4, and it's not a stealthy owl anymore, alright? But it gets the new Moonbeam also. So there we go. Everything is taken into consideration. Desire, or good old Raka, it's a bit of a buff to the initial values here, alright? So instead of being a 9/9, it's a 10/10, but you don't get the Razzle Dazzle anymore, you get a barrier. Okay, nice. Clone Army. Before it would add a base copy of each ally unit to your deck with lead and +1/+1. Now it adds a copy of each ally unit to your deck with lead and +2/+2. So now even stronger clones on your side, and frankly it's a lot of value right now. So yeah, it's a double buff. It's not just any kind of buff, right? It's a double buff. So not shabby. Nakamoto, our boy, let's see what changes here. Nakamoto now comes with barrier, alright? So it can be stealthy and also protected from damaging spells, at least for a round. So there we go. The Mad Vibes. Mad Vibes is a bit cheaper, now costing 3 instead of 4, and it's now a hard card instead of being a token. Nessie. Let's see what changes here. I can see straight away that, yeah, Nessie comes with more power from the get-go, with 2 instead of 0, and when you play, gets power equal to your mana. Now on Sunset, you spend your mana and you get that much power. Alrighty, that's pretty interesting. So is this a cumulative process, John? That I'm not sure. So if you like on one turn you get 2 power and then the other turn you get another 2 power, so it would be 6 here, 2/2/2. Or does it overwrite the buff each round? It should be cumulative, right? That's interesting. Nice. Can make some crazy plays later on. Yeah, it's additive. Okay. So Nathic, you can make some crazy strategies with Nessie later on. Yeah, I like it. A very good change here. I expect some pretty buff Nessies in the future. So Curious now comes with Shroud. So there you have it. It's a bit more protected now. Minstrel now with an extra point of health, just to make sure that it survives long enough. Archivist now comes also with another point of power, so we can do some trading and smacking around. Of course, you gotta use all those hands there. That makes sense. Harpex now stealthy Harpex, and 1 less point in health. Now it's a 5/2/5 instead of being a 5/2/6. Okay, so going to the backlines here. Epic Eagle now costs 1 less, moving to agility and losing a significant amount of health. So now it's a 5/6/3 instead of being a 5/5/5. So let's see what changes here. On summon, before it would raise your maximum mana to the enemies if they have more, so it would basically equalize your maximum mana to your enemies if they were different values. Or of course not equalize, right, but would increase if you had less. And now on summon, if the enemy has more maximum mana than you, make your maximum mana one more than theirs. So now instead of just catching up, you catch up and you got one extra maximum mana on top. So that's pretty interesting, right? And it gives you a lot of possibilities with some of the cards that remove your own maximum health, right? You can use that offensively if you know that you have an epic ego coming along. Nice. I like this quite a lot. The Moth, our very own Mothman. Let's see what changes here for Coughing Moth. Before, on Glory, it would summon a Zomboid and then you would ready it. Now, on Glory, it dusts the enemy top dead unit, you summon a Zomboid and then you ready it. So, the Coughing Moth is now really going to the coffins, right? It's getting the enemy's dead units, transforming them into Zomboids and then readying them. Because that's so obviously cool, it lost its Wither, but it gained 1 point of health back. So now it's again a 2/2/2. And lost the barrier because, come on, she doesn't need it. Really nice. I like this one very much. Nomad. Nomad, before it would on summon draw a lifesteal unit, and now on summon it draws a lifesteal card. So it's wider. So it now allows you to tutor lifesteal spells on top of that. So that's a good stuff for me. Or you can, that Wrath, right? If you want to summon that Wrath, you can do that with good old Nomad now. That's good. So Tried and True, before on Sunset it would get a mana potion if you have no mana. Now on Sunset it gets a mana potion and guard if you have no mana. And then switcheroo with power and health. It was a 2/3, now it's a 3/2. So there we go. Chief Justice, now a wisdom card instead of heart. Also switcheroo of stats here with 2/3 because it's more of a defensive card, and because it has armor, that extra point of health goes a long way. Nice. Sidekick lost its guard, so it's now gained guard, not lost its guard. What am I saying? So now it's a real sidekick, right? It will stand in front of you. But because of that altruism, the sidekick lost its shield. So that's good. Back to guard duty. Scooter. Before it would get 1 power when you play a spell with a higher cost than this unit's power. So basically it would get 1 power whenever you played your first spell, and then you would require a 2-cost spell and then a 3-cost spell to keep pumping up Scooter's power. And now it gets 1 extra power when you play a spell with cost equal to this unit's power or more. So now it's not only higher, but it's equal or higher. So it makes it easier to boost Scooter up. That's pretty nice. Forest Heart, straightforward buff of 1 point of power. So there we have it. Inspirator, now back to the 3/2/2. Okay, and with the new heirloom, it's in a better spot as a 2/2 unit right now. The Pyre Fox, big changes here, I see. So it's a 2/2 instead of being a 1/3. So we have stats and then text. Before on Sunset it would do 1 damage to the enemy hero or 2 damage if their deck was empty. Alright, so now on Sunset it does 1 damage to the enemy hero and 1 damage to enemies if a deck is empty, either yours or the enemies. So it's a bit wider now, the opportunities for the Pyre Fox, okay? But it's less of a hero blinker. So there we go. Seashore. Seashore, it's now wisdom from heart, and it would give your hero vapors, and if your hand is empty, then you draw 2 and reveal the enemy card. Now it will give your hero vapors as before, and if your mana, not your hand, if your mana is empty, reveal the low cost cards in the enemy hand. So there we go. It's a fundamental change in how this card works. I like it. Because the cost is so small, it's relatively easy to make use of the added effect when your mana is empty. Pretty nice. So Leonidas, now losing the lifesteal, only gets armor as a keyword. So there we have it. No need to double heal on Leonidas apparently, which is cool. Fuji now gained stealth, so it's a stealthy firefox with a volcanic potion. Crystal on death would give your hero vapors. Now if you have no mana, give your hero vapors on death. Okay, so a bit more specific, but it's also a guard, so there we have it. Changing place in your deck. Glacier, before on death it would give enemy units frozen. Now on death, if you have no mana, give enemy units frozen. Okay, so it's a bit more specific. It's not a freeze fest apparently, but it comes with another banner effect for you. So there you have it. Another, yeah. It's a nerf to the mass freeze, but yeah, the extra banner is super welcome, definitely. Yeah, that's why John was frowning here on the chat when somebody mentioned Lightning Vial for lifesteal tutoring. So there you have it. Sorry, Ron, your plans were foiled. Earwig lost its wither. Alright, it was good enough as it is, no need to wither. Burner, now with sturdier stats, alright, less power, so now it's a 4-2-3 instead of being a 4-4-2. Now more focused on its sustain power, and yeah, because you want to draw as much value from this Spirefire as possible. Vitalize is now wisdom instead of intellect. Before it would make target unit's power equal to its health and then would give it roots. Now you make target unit's power equal to its health and make it roots and give it roots and guard. Oh, mommy, that is very nice on asymmetrical units. So yeah, this is, especially counting that you get a free guard. Also, it's a nice way to create a very dangerous guard. Nice. Undergrowth. Before you would summon your top 3 dead 2 cost or less units. Now you summon your bottom 3 dead 2 cost or less units. So moving the earth requirements from the top to the bottom. Right, so that's earth steam right now. Potion seller now comes with a barrier, so you can get only the best potions, the strongest potions available. Okay, so Trip Snare. Trip Snare, before it would give sleeping enemies roots, and then each enchant on enemies a +1 cost. Now same thing, sleeping enemies roots, same idea, and give attachments on enemy units +1 cost. Okay, so it's a nasty way to make attachments more expensive without basically making the mana potion moot. So that's nice. Orchid, now it lost its banner, so no more banner Yorkits. Before, it would give you units in your hand +1/+1, and then spells in your hand -1 cost. And now you draw 1 cost card, give units in your hand +1/+1, and give spells in your hand +1 cost. Okay, so the trade here is the draw instead of the banner, which sounds pretty fair. I like it. On the hunt, before it would draw a fire unit and then give this spell to it with a +1 cost. And now you draw a low cost fire unit and then give this spell to it with a +1 cost. So again, the tutoring much more specific. So there we have it. Yes, Caliado is asking if this drawn cards here would benefit from those costs. Yes, because that happens first. So it makes sense that this drawn card would benefit from those effects here. Yeah. So Ill Will. Now it's a bannery Ill Will. That's nice. It's an old favorite. And now it's even more useful. Nice. So Sturdy. Sturdy on... let's see what changes here. Text. Before it would draw a spell and then give the spell to your hero with +1 cost. That's the classic Study. And now you draw a spell. You give this spell to a target ally with a +1 cost. Okay, so big changes in how the Study goes around, which can be a good or a bad thing depending on each scenario. It gives maybe your hero a bit more, a bit of extra room maybe for spells while you keep moving Sturdy around. That's not shabby. And of course it can be your hero because it's an ally, so it's much more flexible now. Okay, Norsudovest now losing 2 points of power and gaining 1 point of health, so it's not such a bad bite despite those foreheads, but it's a bit more resilient, which is especially good because it's a guard. Alright, so the Tidehunter now costs 4, trades guard for stealth, and now it's a 4/5 instead of being a 6/6. So yeah, moving down the current is now a stealthy shark instead of being a guardy shark. So it's an interesting and potentially very, very powerful card here. So Magnanimous now comes with a banner, you can see. And before, on summon, it would give spells in your hand and deck -1 cost. Now on summon, give you spells and mind units in your hand and deck -1 cost. So it's not just the party anymore, everything gets reduced in cost, just mind units in hand and deck. So there we go. Hail of Arrows. Let's see what changes here. The last card for the modified ones. So before it would do 1 damage to enemies, and if you have no mana, give units in the enemy hand +1 cost. Now, same thing, 1 damage to enemies and give units in the enemy hand +1 cost. Alright, so we removed the no mana limitation here. So there we go. It's a bit easier to use Hail of Arrows right now without doing a lot of math. So I'm sure a lot of people will be, yeah, it's no longer bad if you draw it later on. Okay, so for finally the shifts, Bolster is now an intellect card from a token. Soul Crush is now called Epitaph, and now it's a strength card from Heart. Full Bloom is a Heart card from Wisdom. Hyper Beam, intellect card from Strength. Skewer, agility card from Strength. Lost in the Fog, wisdom card from Heart. Scorch, agility card from Intellect. Raise Arms, heart card from Wisdom. Hydrex, Heart card from Strength. Ooh, Heart Hydrix, I like it. Con is now Agility from Strength. Nice. The big change. Forest Fire, Intellect from Heart. Garuda is now Strength from Agility. Screech is now a token moving out of Intellect. Alright, lots of changes, and yeah, I like the new options for tutoring and etc. I think it's gonna be very interesting to see that in constructed matches. Opens up a lot of new options for tutoring and stuff like that. Yeah. So again, those for the late people that are arrived here, those are the improvements that we have. I'm gonna post those in the patch notes channel in a few seconds. Alright? Yeah, we're very excited also for this one. So try those, let us know what you think of the new Skyweaver songs that we have in the game. Alright, I'm sure you'll like them. Let us know which ones are your favorites. And that's it. Remember that the patch is coming tomorrow by the end of the day, around 6 up to 6 o'clock on Toronto time, so be mindful of that. Thanks a lot, Zygon, Philippe, Bloodheal, and all the rest of the gang, Worths and Brusoros. And it's always nice to see you guys here every other Wednesday. Alright, Saturday we have our community stream for my discovery matches with you guys. Alright, so see you in Sky, and be safe and have fun. Bye bye.